Well, it finally happened. We invested in a beam saw. Actually, the truth is we've owned this for 4 years, but it's been sitting on the shelf. I don't know how it made it this long and never made it out of the box, but I'm super excited because we've got some really fun projects coming up. And so we want to modify our Makita saw and make it a little bit more capable of cutting some big timber, big wood, and some stairs. If you haven't seen these before, they're an amazing adaptation of the popular worm drive circular saw. I don't believe they'll fit just any circular saw. There's definitely some limited options or models that it will work on. But essentially you can just remove the blade and remove the blade guard and do some very subtle modifications, and believe it or not, the sucker will bolt right on. And this particular model is a 12-inch model. They make some shorter ones. I think they're maybe down to 8 or 10 inches, which would probably be a little bit easier to operate. And then they go up, I think, all the way to like 16 inches or something ridiculous, which is basically a chainsaw. And so this is really amazing because you can use a tool you already have that may have some qualities like maybe it's cordless and it's operable on a job site, and you can extend its capabilities. So far, from what I can determine, having test fitted this to make sure it would actually work on our Makita rear handle cordless saw, is that the time to put it on and take it off is really nominal. It's really such that you wouldn't need to permanently mount this to your saw to get the full advantage. This seems to use what appears to be like a Pico model chain, like you would see on some of these smaller electric chainsaws or some of the tree trimming saws. It's definitely the smallest chain, but it's a conventional chainsaw chain, which means it should be pretty easy to get replacement parts for it also. And you have the exact same adjustability that you would expect on a traditional chainsaw bar. This is what they call the gross adjustment, but down here on the heel, it actually has what they call a fine adjustment, and this is good for about 1/8 of an inch of adjustment here in the head, just to get the chain tightness correct. Of course, there's a guard back here because this is where the operator would be, and so you wouldn't want to push your leg into that, especially on the upstroke. Man, that would really, really hurt. And so that just protects the whole saw during the cutting process. And I think really the only mounting screws is this single bolt here that goes through the arbor on your circular saw, and then there's a small piece that I don't have on here right now, but it actually just attaches to the strut that is for your depth adjustment. So that attaches on there, and just like that, you've turned your circular saw into a chainsaw. Very easy to install. I would say if you've done this before, it's probably 3 minutes. If you're paying somebody by the hour, it'll probably take them about 6 minutes to install. All right, time to see where this thing shines. So this is a 4x6, but you know what? You can cut those with a circular saw. We're trying to get ourselves into some timbers or a beam saw. Maybe the most practical application for this for most guys is going to be cutting stair stringers all at one time, instead of having to cut them 2 at a time, or worse yet, 1 at a time like we've done in the past. So here we've got ourselves, looks like a 6x8. That'd be a great candidate. You're never gonna cut that with the meanest of circular saws. Not even our Makita would probably, well, it might cut it at the 6-inch dimension, but definitely not on the 8-inch side. Woof. Even our speed square is not man enough for this timber. Well, let's make a mark here on the face. So let's just choose like right here. And let's continue our mark up here so we've got something to reference. Good. So that's what we're gonna cut off. Let's see if we can do it in one shot here. Dumb ways to die. Thankfully, I'm okay, but wow, that was fun. Well, how did it cut? Well, let's check it for plumb. Wow, that's really good. Very straight. And of course, this is all gonna be based on how good I am with my square. That's a little bit off. I think I got a little crooked on my first cut there. And of course, the beam's just a little bit out of square too from itself, which is totally normal. I would say the cut is extremely easy. I actually am shocked at how well this goes through. I feel like because my experience with chainsaws is so erratic, you know, being that they're two-stroke and that they have a lot of bite if you have a sharp chain, it's kind of surprising how smooth this thing cuts. I think the rear handle saw gives you a lot of control in the rear, and then just the smoothness of the cut, even on a really dry, kind of crumbly timber like this one, which may actually be more close to like an engineered wood product than it is a timber, because a lot of times timbers are green, they're pretty soft and they cut pretty easily. This one's really dry and it's got that kind of brittle, hard to cut feel about it. You know a tool is going to get used a lot when your first impression is, what the heck was I thinking not opening this box sooner? Honestly, we've just been cutting all kinds of blocks of wood, which tells you it's really, really painless. Yeah, it's kind of silly. This is extremely easy, it's intuitive, and I don't know what we were thinking holding on to it this long. It's so simple. I can see why even a longer one would be nice. I'm not sure if you have like deck joists, you know, things like that you could just rip all at once. Just imagine the time savings if you could just clamp, you know, whatever, 10 boards together and just cut them all in one shot. I mean, yeah, my DeWalt chop saw is amazing, the miter saw, but as far as getting work done, this is the way to go. I kind of regret not having this when we were doing our timber framing because it's obvious how much easier it would have been. But we do have a bunch more projects coming up, and so to be honest with you, I'm going to be looking for a reason to use this. Well, two reasons. One, we hijacked my Makita saw by putting this on there, and two, it's a ton of fun. I'm already thinking up some really fun use cases for this. How many joists or beams have you guys half-lapped and you had to run your circular saw down at 50 times and then do the usual knock it out with a hammer? I'm thinking with this thing, you could do it a lot quicker. In fact, if you're really good at it, you could half-lap 3 or 4 posts all at the same time. I see it just from a productivity standpoint, but then there's also the side where you're just getting better work done. I feel like it's not a compromise of speed versus quality. I mean, as it is right now, assuming you're gentle with this tool, I feel like you're gonna get a high quality cut too. So I've got some ideas. I'm gonna be looking for chances to notch big wood. And I guess if you're like me, we all like really big wood.